right, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to get the program started here. We'd like to take a few minutes and introduce some special guests in attendance tonight. Our Lansing School Superintendent, Ben Schoendenner, is here. Also a member of the Lansing Eastern Athletic Hall of Fame, former quarterback here at Eastern and Central Michigan University, and the principal at Eastern, Marcel Soup Carruthers. Members of the Eastern High School Alumni Association, Mike and Judy Williams, along with some very special guests, Dave and Liz Marine. Dave Marine, also a Quaker. Former Lansing Eastern principal Bill Allen and his lovely wife Jane. And one of the longest Quaker supporters, who just celebrated his 98th birthday, August 5th, Mr. Claude Donahue. Stand up, Mr. Donahue. Okay, a wave is good enough. The Eastern High School Athletic Hall of Fame committee members in attendance tonight are Gene Robinson Klum, Mary Furnham, Chris Williams Barajas, Jim Doran, Jeff Davis, Aaron Mendez, who's coaching the football team, Tom Kenoy, myself, and the head cook and bottle washer, Jim Lynch. Thank them all for their support and their help in their organizing this event. Our first guest recipient, if Tom Kenoy would please join me. This gentleman was all football, all conference, all area, Dream Team 1985, rushed for over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. He's got a lot of accolades. Football scholarship to Indiana University and Western Michigan University. Played basketball at Eastern. He was a team captain in 1986, was on the track team, 4x400 relay and the 4x100 relay. Sixth place finish in the state meet in 1985 in the 4x400 relay. Welcome, Dan Bogan, to the podium, please.
It's amazing how time flies. You know, I was listening to him talk about running the 4x4 and 4x1, and at one point in time we held those records up there. And I was in here and my kids were walking. They said, "It's Bogan up there, Coach." I said, "Yeah, it was me." They were like, looked at me. I said, "Yeah, that was me." That couldn't have been you. I said, "Yeah, that was me." At one point in time, I actually could run a 48.7 in the 400 split and a 4.43 in the 40. And I said, those things do change. They do change. I think I'd run about 17-minute quarter now. So, but you know, it's a blessing to be back here, and I'm truly thankful to be honored by the Eastern Hall of Fame committee, and I won't be before you long. This is special to me because it's home. It's special because it's home. And Eastern has always been a special place for me. A lot of special people that played a very important part of my development here at Eastern High School. Mr. Allen, I was able to see him first when I came in here, and it was great to embrace him. I hadn't seen him in over 15 years. Mrs. Dorsum played a big part, Mrs. Garay, Miss Maloney, Coach Ditzworth, Coach Pochard, Coach Cross. There's just so many people, Coach Ethington, Coach Cook, Coach Kuthin, Coach Mendez, Dr. Rodriguez, and I could go on. This is the type of atmosphere that Eastern had, and had so many people to go to. I'm going to talk about just shortly a little story about me and Tom Kenoy, a good friend of mine. I told him I was going to tell some of our secrets. I won't give them all up, but just absolutely, we'll take the rest of them to the grave, Tom. But I had broke my wrist the last football game of the season against Sexton, and my thumb, and so finished the game. I didn't know I broke it to the next morning, and so gonna miss pretty much 6 to 8 basketball games. And we thought we could be pretty good again after coming off a conference championship my junior year. So we wanted to do the same thing. Tom was like, "So when you getting it off?" And I said, "Well, I go to to the doctor today, and I find out. I think he's gonna take it off. It feels really good." He said, okay. So I get back from the doctor, and Tom said, "What'd he say?" He said, "Another 4 to 6 weeks." He said, "You're gonna miss like 6 to 8 games." I said, "Yeah." That wasn't gonna happen. So me and Tom, we went to his house, and we were focused on getting this cast off. And my mom was like, "You better not take that cast off, and I'm gonna do this to you, do that." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So we got to his house, and we pull his dad's saw out, and we're in the basement, and Tom's dad comes down. "What the hell are you guys doing? What's going on?" And he said, "Get out of the way and let me show you how to do that." And I said, "Yes." I thought, oh, it's over. This doggone cast is going to be on here forever. Mr. Kenoy took that cast off. I played. We won, beat Ypsilanti, and won the conference that year. So it was a great time. And one of my many memorable moments here. And again, this is a special place and with a lot of great memories. And again, thank you for this honor. God bless.
And I failed to let some of you that don't know that Dan Bogan is the principal at Sexton High School. But he's still a Quaker. Mary Furman is on her way up here. Our next induction recipient, we will have Phil and/or Rob Campion join us. Mr. Bob Campion was a legend back in his day, played City League baseball and softball here in Lansing forever, was drafted by the Chicago Cubs, was an MHSAA official for 35 years, was a president of the Lansing Official Association, was a member of the chain gang at Michigan State for football games for 33 years. He was a neighbor of mine, and he's a very nice man. If Phil Campion would please join us.
He's dead. I've been working hard a long time to get him into the Hall of Fames here in Eastern and Lansing. He had a lot of accomplishments. some of them were really fun because he did the Harlem Globetrotters and Eddie Feiner and King of his Court, his officials and players against them, with them. He also did, like he was saying, all the football games from Mid-Michigan, football, baseball, and basketball for 30 years. But one of the big things that really tells a lot about him is that I was in a golf outing this summer, and a gentleman came up to me and says, "Is your dad Bob Campion?" And I said, "Yep." Well, this gentleman is 96 years old and remembered him from 70 years ago, saying that he was one of the finest, best ball players he ever played with. So with that being said, it's probably the best thing of all, even though all his other accomplishments, that somebody from 70 years ago remembered him. And so I appreciated that, and appreciated my dad for all the things he accomplished in sports, in politics, and in his church. And I appreciate the Hall of Fame here selecting him, and I hope I can get him into the Lansing Hall of Fame next. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jim Lynch, please join me. Our next inductee. He was and is still quite the guy. 3-time CAC All-Conference champion, 2-time state wrestling champion, 3rd in the Junior National Greco-Roman, 4th in the Junior National Freestyle, a 2-time Marine All-American. Michigan and Morgan State 2-time NCAA qualifier, Eastern High School Quaker wrestler Wayne Jackson.
Appreciate it, thank you. I made it. I'd just like to say thank you to Jim and the committee for nominating me and putting me in here. I'd also like to thank Jim Walker and Charlie Cross, who were instrumental in my wrestling process, and I really want to thank them because there was a kid by the name of John Swicks who was beating me off the team, and they didn't allow him to challenge me anymore so that I could continue to wrestle and be what I was. I would beat everybody around the state, but he was beating me off the team right in the room, so we're not letting him challenge me that last year. And my brother Darnell always reminds me, John Swicks was my nemesis. So I'm happy about that. I'd also like to say that I appreciate my mother and father for instilling discipline and effort and self-worth in order for me to succeed at what I was doing in everything, even wrestling and all things. My sister Michelle for beating me up sometimes, making me tougher. She'll say she doesn't remember, but she did. But most of all, I'd like to thank Coach Keith Poacher, who was instrumental in everything that I'd done. He took me around the state everywhere, drove me everywhere. Don't know if I've ever said thank you or said I appreciated it, but he took me everywhere, even around the country, many places. So I was really happy about that, and he was instrumental in making sure that I did everything that I could do in order to succeed at wrestling. In addition to that, I'd like to say to my brother-in-law, Mike Ingram, thank you for always telling me that Action Jackson was the first Jackson that was the action in my family, not Kevin Jackson. And I really appreciate that. You really make me feel good when you tell me that, Mike, because everybody doesn't remember. In addition to that, I'd like to say, even though they had nothing to do with this, my wife, Gina, and my grandson, Darius, even though, like I said, they didn't have anything to do with this, I was tough at one point in time in my life. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You'll never forget Wayne Action Jackson. Chris Barajas would join me, please. And I'm not sure if somebody told you people you can't talk for very long, but we have some time we have to use up. We got a guy coming up that can get some stories for you. Our next induction recipient played softball, volleyball, and tennis here at Lansing Eastern. 9 varsity letters. There aren't too many that have those accomplishments. CAC All-Conference in softball, volleyball, All-State Honors in softball. Played college softball at Hope, All-MIAA, 1991 and 92. MIAA League MVP and batting champion. NCAA softball first team All-American 1992. She had her softball jersey retired at Hope College. Ladies and gentlemen, Joanna Pescadna.
Was she in the band too?
She may have been in the band also.
Ah, absolutely. Thank you. Oh, over here first. Okay. See, I do everything. All right.
And she still fits in her varsity
That's
jacket
right, that's
very
right.
well. That a girl.
Great.
Thank you so much. Yes, I was in the band as well, and I took that out, and the valves actually worked, so I was incredibly happy, and I've been practicing all day. So sorry about the mess up. I nailed it my last time at home. Nerves. First off, I would like to thank Lansing Eastern and everybody who was involved in our Quaker family, because that's what it was and still is. So many special people, as the inductees have mentioned before. My coaches, well, I'm going to say Miss Jean Klum back there, who, as our state championship, I was one of those little girls in the stands going, I want to be that. I want to be out there. So she was a role model for myself and my sister as well, and a lot of young ladies, athletes. Also, Sherry Wells was our volleyball coach, and Jim Dupree was our softball coach, and they made instrumental impacts on myself. It was nice to be able to be a freshman on varsity. It was challenging at times because it wasn't very common, but they embraced it, and I appreciate that for them taking the chances on me. The people that I want to really thank the most are the people that are sitting right over here, and that's my family. Growing up, we had the Quaker family, but this Eastern family, our Pescadna family, Eastern was that bigger family. We would come to the field house. My brother would take us, now I say that, he would take us upstairs to the weight room and make us lift weights with stinky football players, because mom told him he had to watch us. So he went up, and I saw him work his tail off, and a lot of the other Eastern athletes, when other people don't see them working out. And that really inspired me, and it made a big difference in my success moving forward. And as you can see, he did something right there. In 2019, he was inducted. However, I appreciate the committee for inducting me earlier in less time than he did, because now I get to hold that over his head for a very long time. It took me a shorter amount of periods, so thank you for that. And he was a great role model, but there was somebody else here who was an amazing role model too, and she doesn't get a lot of recognition, but that is my sister, Chris. Chris was 2 years older than myself, and she set the bar for who I was to be, and she's just an amazing athlete, and I still claim that she's the best natural athlete in our whole family, but we've just had some different opportunities. So back to my sister. She was amazing, I just want to say I love you and thank you, because if it wasn't for her, I would definitely not be here with all of her talents. And I can tell you, she would always bat fourth, and I'd always bat either third or fifth. And I knew if I was batting third, she'd always get a hit, so I needed to get my running done, or get ready to go. And if I was batting fifth, I would always think, oh, thank God, she's gonna get him in, so I don't have to worry about it. So she took a lot of pressure off of me. Many hours in the backyard playing catch. So thank you, Chris. This goes to you as well. The last two people I would like to thank is my mom and dad, Steve and Roseanne Pascadna. And if you're an Eastern Quaker, hopefully at some point in our history you've heard of them. My mom is up in heaven right now organizing everybody to listen to this event. Could not be prouder, I know. But my mom and dad, many people say they have the best parents. And I do not disagree with you, but I can firmly say I had the best parents growing up. They were the old school helicopter parents. They were at every game. They instilled hard work, dedication. We couldn't quit until it was okay to quit. They made us fail. They made us struggle. They were at everything, from band concerts to every game. And I remember one game at Grand Ledge, I could hear my mom say when I was up to bat, and if you went to our games, you would know my mom. And she hit it up the middle, let's go, you got this. And I remember thinking, why do they have to come to every single game, right? They were there. And my dad would be there with the old VCR or VHS recorder. So thank you, Dad. If I could have everybody give him a round of applause, Dad, and if you would stand up. That is from my brother and my sister and myself. So thank you. Other than that, it's a great honor. I thank you. I love my Eastern family, as you can tell. And thank you. God bless and have a good night. Thanks.
All right, our next recipient played varsity football here at Lansing Eastern for 3 years, all city, all league, all state honors, was a member of the 1974 Division II National Championship at Central Michigan University, also played tennis here at Eastern 3 years on the varsity team, was a 1974 Student Athlete Award winner. The first time I ever saw this young man, well, a young man, he's probably older than I am by a few months, he was being recruited at Pattongill to come over to play basketball from the parochial schools. I came up one day from the locker room, and there he is shooting baskets with a coach. If I could get Dave Zilkowski to join me here, please. And sit back, because he has some stories.
Nothing like a classmate putting a little heat on me. By the way, my jacket wouldn't fit, but yours looks great on you. Okay. Gary and I did go through high school together, and known Gary for many, many years, and I consider him a very dear friend. First off, I'd like to congratulate all the inductees for this 2021 year. It's a great honor for all of us, and I don't know all of you individually, but you should be congratulated for today's honor. I also would like to thank the committee for bestowing this honor on me, for which I'll be forever grateful. For those of you, football fans, who saw Charles Woodson's entry into the Hall of Fame in Canton about 2 months ago, anybody see that speech? That kind of ESPN? All right, I promise you I won't do what he did, all right? You know what I'm talking about. But he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame, and he proceeded to give tribute to someone very important to him by singing a song, and I promise you I will not sing. But I would not be here without the love and support of one very special lady. I would like to thank and recognize my 91-year-old superwoman, my mom, Doris Zilkowski. I would also like to share that my father's support, Floyd Zolkowski, who's no longer with us, also fueled my motivation. I'm forever grateful to these two incredible parents who instilled the work ethic within me that pushed me athletically back then and professionally to this day. So I love you. I'd also like to thank my wife, Deb, and my daughter, Katie, for sharing this special event with me, along with my sister, Lori, and her husband, Jamie, and my brother, Dan, and his wife, Jerry. We have 2 tables at this nice celebration, and I was thrilled that they all wanted to share this moment with me. There are also 3 very special friends here tonight that actually, once they heard that this was occurring, asked if they could attend. So I am thrilled that Mr. Pete Hines, Frank Brewer, and Dan Farley have joined me in this special occasion. So it's special to me, guys. Thank you so much. There's another gentleman up there under 2019 by the name of Tim Mackey who would have been here. Unfortunately, was coming in from Arizona and had all kinds of flight issues and just wasn't able to make it. But he was inducted in the last time you guys got together, and I was really very excited for his induction and would have liked to have my dear friend here. We played side by side for 3 years together here. But it's all about family. You mentioned it earlier, and friends. That's what it's all about. It's always got to be all about that. And it's a special evening for me to have these people here tonight. I said, you know, I had limited time, but Gary's told me I have as much as I want, so I'm not going to bore you too much. But I'd like to share a couple of experiences that I had here at Eastern. The one Gary shared, quite frankly, I do remember that day. I came up through the Catholic school system, went to Resurrection, went to Catholic Central, and I did come over to Pat and Gill one day because one of the coaches was trying to talk me into coming over this way. My basketball expertise was a little stronger than my football at that point, but I do remember that day. Many of us ended up transferring here to Lansing Eastern from Lansing Catholic Central. Quite frankly, that year, 1971, the tuition tripled, and most of us couldn't afford to go to Lansing Catholic at that point. So we came here, and you know, this isn't Kansas anymore, Dave, when I came here. Big difference between those 2 school systems. So of course, the first fall sport is football, right? So we showed up to play. Frank was there, Dan was there, Tim was there, and I wanted to play football. As a 9th grader, I was about the same height as I am now, just a couple of pounds lighter, okay? And I was a quarterback, okay? And I had a gun for an arm, all right? And I didn't know what I was going to do here. So I showed up to practice, and Coach Dingman at the time was our coach. He directed various people to go to this part of the field if you were in this, you know, wanted to play this or this or this. And he brought the quarterbacks over. And I'm like, well, I'm a quarterback. Where else am I going to play? So I followed him over there, and I followed senior Terry Cheppy. Some people may know that name, outstanding ball player. Junior Tony May, brother of Tim May, who's in the Hall of Fame, also an excellent player, and a few others. So I knew I was in good company, and upon seeing me, Coach Dingman said, "Son, do you want to play football this year?" And I said, "Well, yes, sir." And then he provided me one of the humblest coaching suggestions ever in my career. "Son, then I strongly recommend you go down there with the offensive line." And that's where I was exiled, ended up starting 3 years on the offense and then defensive line, and my quarterback days were over. I was about 6'1" at the time, about 185 pounds, and I was a sophomore, and we were playing under the lights, obviously in our home field in Sexton, which I never could figure out, but we all know that. And we were playing against East Lansing, and East Lansing was loaded with players just like myself who had come out of the Catholic school systems and gone into the public school system. So I knew many of them on that team, and I suspect a few of them knew that myself and Tim Mackey were on that field as sophomores. So we lost the toss. They kicked off to us, and they decided to do something a little unusual in a high school game on the first kickoff and the first day of the first game, and they did an onside kick right in my hands that I promptly fumbled, and we lost the possession. And I thought I was about this tall. I mean, my first touch in a varsity game, and I blew it. They marched down the field, they scored 6 points, didn't make the extra point, go back out. Kicking receive team. I'm safe now. Things never happen twice, ain't gonna happen. And they won't be greedy enough to do it again. Onside kick, right at me, easier to get handled than the last one, fell on it, and boom, lost it, we lost it again. And for 40 years, I swear, I walked around Greater Michigan knowing that I lost that football game. All right, I swear to God. And I'm getting ready for this discussion and this speech, so I grabbed the yearbook, and I'm looking at it, and it shows the scores that year. We won 8-6, and I'm thinking that's got to be a Lansing Eastern typo. I mean, there's just no way that we won that football game. So I go back into the internet and look up East Lansing scores. They take you back to the 50s, and sure as heck we won that game 8-6. So now I walk around feeling a lot better that I didn't throw it away. Okay, but the true story. True story. I would like to recognize two coaches who made a major impact on my life at that time. My offensive line coach, Coach Snyder, and Dick Flynn. Dick became the head coach the day after our first game. The week after our first game, Mr. Dingman stepped aside and Dick Flynn began his career. I'm still not sure if those two onside fumbles was why he left, but in any case, I had a new coach called Dick Flynn. And I would consider Dick probably the first real mentor that I had. Dick was from the Mount Pleasant area, and I think he probably was a little instrumental in my receiving a full ride scholarship to Central Michigan. And I was part of that 1974 national championship team. I picked an outstanding year to be on that team. Had a great time. So for Dick, I appreciate everything he was able to do for me. Reflecting back a little bit, we came in here as sophomores, coming from, again, the private school system. We had almost 1,000 sophomores in that class. I remember the school or the paper saying it was the largest single incoming class in the history of Lansing. It was middle of the baby boomers, right? We had 1,000. I was probably coming from a class of 150. At Lansing Catholic. So again, as we looked around, we were probably a third Caucasian, a third African American, and a third Mexican American. Eastern was, and likely still is, a melting pot of our society. The 3 years, for me, for this blonde-haired, blue-eyed Catholic boy, it was quite a wake-up call. It was time for me to grow up quick. The 3 years I spent in these halls were the best years I could have asked for. I would be remiss if I did not recognize the incredible teachers that were so instrumental in my development. Mrs. Lewis, my homeroom teacher, my inspirational English teachers, who I credit for many of my minor skills that I have today, but I do like to write. Mrs. Kessel and Mr. Spagnola, I'm sure names that ring bells with many of you. And my math guru, Mrs. Sudak. This microcosm of our society was led by none other than Don Johnson, our principal, and as I learned much later, our top cop. If you know any Don Johnson stories, you know how he had gained that reputation. If you don't know that, pull us aside, we'll share some with you. This fine building is named after Don Johnson, and he is indeed a Lansing legend. Thank you, Lansing Eastern, for preparing me for the real world. And again, I just want to express my gratitude for bestowing upon me this tremendous honor. Thank you.
It's up to you.
All right, our next recipient, a special recognition award. This young lady drives over to Eastern High School here twice a week from close to Lake Michigan, between Kalamazoo and Lake Michigan. She was a teacher at Pattengill, and I'm not sure where else all. She's a teacher, a scorer, official scorer. She also official scorer at Albion College women's basketball. She's a fan of students, has supported students in the classroom and on the playing field. Quakers excel, and she is proud to represent them, and we're proud to have her here. Melissa Washburn.
Am I supposed to say something? Karaoke, anybody? I'd like to thank the committee as well. And you'd think I'd be pretty good because for 25 years I stood in front of 7th and 8th graders, and that's where I've gotten my gray hair from. But I do want to thank the committee. Jeff Davis would come to my classroom. I'm not sure about the Lynches because I had your kids, so I must have done something right to get in with them. But thank you so much. I am very humbled. I'm a scorer. I was a teacher at Pattengill, and then when Pattengill merged with Otto, when we came over to Eastern, I said, I'm going to be a Quaker. And here it is. So I taught 7th and 8th grade in Lansing for 25 years. I was a coach. I'm an official. And it has nothing to do with Eastern, but this is my 40th year of officiating field hockey in the state of Michigan and Ohio. So, I was an athlete, and I wished my teachers would come to games. Very few did. Maybe the female gym teachers. I went to a huge, large high school, 1,000 in my class, in the southern suburbs of Chicago, and my teachers didn't come. I wanted to show my kids, and they're my kids, that I cared for them. And one way was to come to their games, whether it was volleyball, basketball, football, softball, wrestling. I wanted to show my support. And so I've been the official scorer for the basketball teams for the last several years. So they had to be nice to me because I was the one giving them the points. So, anyway, I want to thank my team members at Eastern, Karen Hoekstra, who was a wonderful athlete here, Ryan Korpenning, Mike Rebick, who is an assistant coach right now, and Robin Murray. We were a team at Eastern, and also want to thank Mary Haas, who joined me this evening. And also, I am humbled, and he's my hero. And Matt Nguyen had to go out to the football field, but he was an athlete here in wrestling and football. And I believe it was his sophomore year that he started experiencing headaches. Went over to Sparrow, found some brain tumors. And he persevered, and I think he's one of the main reasons why I continue to do what I do, because he's one kid that has guts, and you'll see him out on the football field this evening. So, thank you, all you parents and athletes and coaches and principals. Thank you, Marcel Carruthers. Met him first when he was an assistant principal over at Pattengill, and we used to chat every now and then. So I am very humbled for this award, and thank you, Gary, because he knows about microphones going out because it happens to him at the basketball games all the time. Thank you, Mona and Dan, who are the assistant and head athletic directors, and everybody here at Eastern, because you couldn't find a better staff of people who do care about their students, and Lansing cares about their students. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. Thank you.
Well done.
All right, a few short announcements here. We'd like to thank you all for supporting the fellow Quakers and their accomplishments, if we can get that out. Take some time here, mingle, take pictures, check out the banners, check out the plaques. Take your program home with you, some reading material while you're sitting there not watching TV. When you're ready, we can go over to the football field. We'll go to the pass gate. Jim Lynch and/or Ramona Mendez will be there to allow you in. Probably not needing tickets, just allow you in the pass gate. 5 minutes before the halftime, we'll have you meet in the southwest corner and have you walk out at halftime as you're introduced to the crowd. Again, outside on the table, there's applications for the golf outing, and equally and more importantly, buy a brick. Good thing to remember your family with and/or loved ones. Be proud as a Quaker graduate and support the school. And if I missed anybody in our introductions of special guests, I'm sorry. But we'd like to thank the superintendent, Ben Schondenner, for coming. Again, Principal Marcel Carruthers, Mike and Judy Williams, Dave and Liz Marine, Mr. Donahue, you're just plain special to us all here and have been for years. We're glad your daughter Cheryl could bring you. And that's it, folks. Thank you very much for attending. We appreciate it all. And once again, our sponsors are on the second page here. We'd like to see your name there next year so we can continue to have this great program. Thank you.